Welcome back to the channel. My name is Adam Smith, and inside this rolling solo showcase, we're checking out Metal Gear Solid, the board game. This game can be played true solo as well as cooperatively, so you can play multi-handed solo if you wish. I've got myself set up for a true solo play, so I'm controlling Snake. The story of the board game follows the very first Metal Gear Solid video game, where players are going to take on the roles of Solid Snake, Meryl, Dr. Hal, Emmerich, and Gray Fox, and need to use their unique skill sets to avoid detection as they try to complete objectives across multiple campaign scenarios. This game features a dynamic AI system. As it's a stealth game, you're going to have to deal with enemies reacting to your presence. Hopefully, you can stay stealthy long enough to avoid all of that. It's got a sandbox style of gameplay, so you can come at missions from various ways to try and be successful. Replayability around these missions is going to be high, and individuals that like stealth games are going to enjoy going after each of these objectives in different ways with different strategies. The dynamic AI and the open sandbox style of play lends itself extremely well to that. Without further ado, let's dive into the campaign book called the Shadow Moses Campaign. The first couple of pages have a graphic novel. We'll take a look at that narrative, and that's going to lead us right into Stage 0, which I've already set up here on the table. After that, I'll go over the components that you can see here, and then we'll dig right into gameplay. An island in Alaska's Fox Archipelago called Shadow Moses Island was occupied by Next Generation Special Forces. The island is a secret nuclear weapons disposal facility. They presented us a single demand to turn over the remains of Big Boss. We have 24 hours to comply, or they'll launch nuclear ordnance. Ohio-class nuclear submarine Discovery. You have two mission objectives. First, infiltrate the facility and rescue the two hostages, DARPA Chief Donald Anderson and Kenneth Baker, the president of Armstech. They both are held hostage along with my niece Meryl. Secondly, investigate whether the terrorists have the ability to launch a nuclear strike and stop them if they do. What's the insertion method? We'll approach the disposal facility by sub. Any closer and they'll be able to hear our engine or propeller noise. And then? We'll launch a one-man swimmer delivery vehicle. After the SDV gets as close as it can, dispose of it. After that, you'll have to swim. Who are the terrorists? High-Tech Special Forces Unit Foxhound, your former unit and one that I was the commander of. So they're still around. There are 6 members of Foxhound involved in this terrorist activity. Psycho Mantis with his powerful psychic abilities, Sniper Wolf, the beautiful and deadly sharpshooter, Decoy Octopus, Master of Disguise, Vulcan Raven, Giant and Shaman, and Revolver Ocelot, Specialist in Interrogation and Formidable Gunfighter. And finally, in charge of them, Foxhound Squad Leader Liquid Snake. Liquid Snake? The man with the same codename as you. The nuclear weapons disposal facility covers the whole island. I'll instruct you by codec once you've reached your target. Anyone going with me? As always, this is a one-man infiltration mission. Weapons and equipment, OSP. This is a top secret black op. Don't expect any official support. As you can see inside the campaign booklet, it's not Stage 0, it's Stage 1. I misspoke there, but you'll see the full stage setup, which I've already gone through here on the left. Let's talk about all the game components that are laid out. You'll find the full setup instructions across pages 4 and half of page 5. For every stage that you go through, you're going to have map tiles to place out, as you saw within the campaign booklet. For this one, we have a major one right here in the center. There's nothing else on the board itself except for the miniatures of the enemies, which are depicted. It'll tell you the guard count right on the board itself, which is 3, and in this case tells us exactly where those 3 guards are supposed to be to start things off. The orientation of those guards does matter, so make sure you're looking at the pointy arrow at the bottom of its base to ensure that it's pointing in the direction as depicted in the campaign book. Also, we've got an A objective there. That is going to allow us to call the elevator. The elevator is the tile on the far right. Currently, it's just an elevator shaft because the elevator hasn't arrived yet. When it does arrive, after we get to A, we're going to go ahead and swap out that elevator shaft with the elevator in the top right that has one of the enemy guards in it. We might as well cover the main objective because I've already lightly touched on it. The first thing we need to try and do, as I mentioned, is get to this A token here. Once we've landed on it, we can then call the elevator. The elevator will arrive at our floor as well as a guard inside of it, and then we need to get inside that elevator and use an interact action on this icon right here in this space in order to win the mission. But we cannot do this if we're in the alert status. Each character in the game will have one of these tokens specific to their character with their artwork on it. On the one side, you can see here, it's the alert side. On the opposite side, the investigate side. And I'll show you exactly how that token operates when we get into gameplay in just a moment. There's a small tile that sits just above the map tile, and it's only necessary when you're first starting out, just to remind yourself of how guard priority works when the guards take their turn. Essentially, they'll be taking their turns going in a zigzag pattern across the entire map tile for a zone. So a zone in this particular case for stage 1 is going to be the entirety of everything you can see here map tile wise, as well as the elevators included in the zone. So within this zone, we're going to do a zigzag pattern starting in the top left hand corner across the row, and then we're going to come back to here and go across and back to here and across in order to activate each of the guards. So for instance, the one in the top right of the board would be the first one to go, then the one here, and then finally the one down below. Up on the top left, we have a number of tokens. They're inside of game trays. The game trays are not included in any version of Metal Gear Solid, the board game. I'm simply using these to keep things organized. On the right-hand side, you have the dead guard tokens, the ones that look like skulls in red. And then just to the left of those, you have ones that are used for KO'd guards. So when you knock out a guard, you're going to put a 2-star token down, flipping it over incrementally based on guard order cards over time as that guard regains consciousness and comes back up. Of course, if the guard is dead, it will have the red token and it won't be coming back, but there are guard spawns where they'll call in for reinforcements. We'll see all of that later on. Now to the left, there's another tray of tokens, and this one are a bunch of damage tokens. You've got 12 KO damage, 21 hit damage, 10, 5, and double-sided 10 hit damage tokens, all in that tray. Now below that, you've got a guard order deck and a guard reaction deck. These decks are placed above the guard dashboard. The dashboard has the attack value, the black dice you'll be rolling when guards are going to attack you. It also shows the defense value, which you're trying to meet or exceed in order to get a hit against the guards. And then beside that, their overall health, which is 2. Below, you've got the active guard order card you place below once you've drawn one up. And then in the same fashion, same column to the right with the guard reaction. So as you draw cards up, you simply place them to the opposite side of this guard dashboard. Now, when you create the guard order deck, you're going to find 20 guard order cards that have this light blue or teal looking color. You're going to shuffle them all up and draw 10 of them out for stage 0. The other 10 that you're not using go back to the box. You're not going to see all the guard order cards every single time that are in this color. And then you're going to find the 7 red guard order cards. You're going to shuffle them up and you're going to stage them with the blue on top and the guard order in red on the bottom. The one thing to note is there is a game over card in this deck, the red one. So basically, if you take too long, the game will end itself strictly on a timer. So time is of the essence. The guard reaction deck is comprised of 6 cards. You simply shuffle them and place them down. There's a number of ways that guard reaction cards can be pulled. We'll talk about this when we get into gameplay. Next up, we got the dice pools. We have black for the enemies and white for the heroes. And the white, as you can see, has not only pips on it, but also one of the sides has the exclamation mark, the iconic one from Metal Gear Solid video game, which of course is all about drawing attention to ourselves, which you don't want to see rolled. Last but not least, 2 very important components, the dashboard for your character as well as 4 action tokens. When your turn comes around, you'll simply spend these action tokens up to 4. You don't have to spend all of them, and you can slot them into these different places to do different actions depending on the cost. You can see in the top left-hand corner of each of the action slots. You can also do the same action twice or multiple times so long as you have the action tokens to spend for it. So for instance, if I want to do a combo attack, I could go ahead and use 2 tokens to place into this spot here to do a combo attack, and then I could go ahead with another one and pull off a second combo attack. As you can see, there are a number of different actions you can take. There's also a noise check reminder. We'll talk about this during gameplay in a little bit. Equipment here off to the right, but of course, starting off in stage 1, we have no equipment, but over the course of the game, you'll unlock equipment that you can then go ahead and equip going into missions. We got sneak attack abilities here and I work alone, so you can see some abilities we can take advantage of. We also have an equipment value of 3 in terms of a limit, defense value of 3, so when the enemy is chucking dice at us, if they hit a 3 or higher, that's going to do a damage, and you can see our health is 4, so if we take 4 damage over the course of the game, we are going to be killed. Now let's quickly talk about the win and loss conditions. We know our main objective to get to the A, call the elevator, then get into the elevator and interact while not being in an alert status. Now on the fail side of the equation, we already talked about different ways we can fail, but let's go over them at a high level. So if any of the characters are killed in action, so again, we take too much damage with Snake and we're dead. Players run out of time revealing the game over card. We talked about this. It's buried inside the guard order deck. And the last thing is a stage failure condition occurs. So as you get further into the campaign, there might be something for the actual stage which causes you to fail. It's now time for gameplay. Let's see if Solid Snake can complete stage number 1. Now you'll see a rule summary on the back of the rulebook. I recommend having this face up when you're going through gameplay, especially your very first game. It'll help you with the flow as well as some reminders on things you need to check as you go along. I'll touch on this at a high level. We have the player phase where we of course take our actions. We can perform up to 4 actions based on the tokens that we have. Then after that, for every noisy action that we performed, and you'll see on the dashboard there is a certain noisy icon that is a teal or light blue color with almost a noise reverberating. So if we see that icon for every iteration of that icon, so for instance, if we did an action that had one noise icon and we did it 4 times, we'd be rolling 4 dice to do a noise check. And of course, if we see the exclamation mark on any of those dice, that means we're drawing attention to ourselves. After that, we go into the enemy phase, where if we have a boss in play, we go through the boss stage. Otherwise, we skip this part. Sneaking stage is next, simply drawing a card from the guard order deck. You reveal it. It will have iconography on it, which will tell you potentially things that may happen. And not all of these are going to happen, but here are all the examples of things that can crop up on the card, and we'll talk about them when they do. And then after that, you're going to activate the guards themselves using the zigzag pattern we talked about before. And then we're going to have attacks happening, potential guard reactions occurring, and it'll all end at the end of the enemy phase, and it'll wrap right back around to the player phase. And before I take my first actions with Solid Snake to try to get to that A token, I want to talk about the environment tile we're on. So again, the entirety of everything we're seeing here, the environment tile as well as the elevator shaft, is all part of what's known as a zone. It is broken up into a number of different little areas. You've got little boxes all over the place. You can move to each box orthogonally, but you cannot move diagonally in any way, shape, or form. You'll also see a number of iconography arrows all over the place. That's going to be used for when the guards are moving around. We don't have to worry about that as Solid Snake. We have the freedom to move wherever we want. We just cannot move through any red lines or black lines. So if you see black lines, you cannot go through those. If you see red lines, you cannot go through those. They also block line of sight. So how is line of sight drawn in the game? Well, it's actually quite simple. Now, from the hero perspective, drawing line of sight to the enemies, remember that your hero is not going to have any facing front section of the miniature. They don't have a square base like the enemies do. They don't have a facing arrow. They're facing whatever direction you want at any point in time. It doesn't matter how they're oriented on the game board, whereas the enemies, their orientation does actually matter. So let's talk about the hero, Solid Snake in this case, actually targeting one of the enemies. So let's say I was targeting from Solid Snake to this enemy and I wanted to make a shot, and let's say I hypothetically had a gun, which I do not have. If I was going to draw line of sight from here to here, the first thing I'd do is draw a box that encompasses both characters and all spaces around it. So essentially, in order to better explain this, we're going to go like this. Essentially, all these spaces right here are considered inside the box that is drawn on the outer edges to encompass both of those miniatures. And then inside of that space, if there happens to be on the inside any red lines or black lines, line of sight cannot be drawn. It's important to note the word inside. So inside of the box that I just drew, think about these lines that are imaginary lines drawn along the outside. These lines do not count as lines that would actually block line of sight, but the ones on the inside do. Like this black one here would block line of sight. This one would block line of sight. The one that's actually right here in front of me would block line of sight. So it's a very quick way of determining whether you have line of sight. And of course, if I actually moved my character all the way down to here, there's nothing on the inside that would block line of sight in this case. So very straightforward for the heroes to determine line of sight, and for the enemies, it's actually following a very similar thing, except there's a little difference. There's a 2-step process with checking for the enemies. So when you're activating an enemy, you're first going to take a look at their facing direction. So for instance, if we were starting using the zigzag pattern for the enemy activations, going from the top left, across the row, back to the second row, across, back, across, this is the one that would actually activate first, the one on the far right. It's facing north right now, but it can actually see our character to draw line of sight right now because it's actually facing towards the row or column our character is in. So at this point, we would go ahead and draw that imaginary box all the way across those characters. So that would encompass everything from here all the way down. And then you would quickly see that, oh, there's a whole bunch of red lines on the inside that's blocking line of sight. So as an example, let's do a check with the next individual that would activate. It'd be this guard right here. So let's say he's activating right now as an example, but he's facing this way. So the way he's facing is not towards the row or column that my character is in. So because of that, this individual doesn't have line of sight, and we don't even have to check the box idea at all, because we know there's just no way he has line of sight. His back is to us. This one over here is actually facing off this way and can actually draw to the column that we're inside of. So we could actually do a box check on these two individuals, which would be a ton of space, but we can clearly see there's lots of black lines and red lines all over the place. So no line of sight can be drawn there. All right, so let's go ahead with our very first actions here. Now, my main goal again is to get to that A token. I really want to try to remain out of their view. So what I'm going to try to do here is maybe skirt my way along this and maybe move silently. Now, I have the ability to sneak or dash. If I use one token, I can sneak moving one space. It generates no noise. So I'm being very stealthy, but I'm moving slowly. Or I could choose to dash, moving 2 spaces, but then I have to roll a die for every time I've dashed at the end of my turn, and that could potentially draw attention to myself, which of course can escalate the entire situation. But you do save time by dashing. But I'm going to go ahead and play it safe at the beginning. We're going to spend 4 tokens and move stealthily 4 times. So I've gone ahead and moved my miniature in advance of actually paying the action tokens. I'll show you that on the board in just a second. So I essentially went from here, 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 and then around the corner there. So I'm in a nice tucked in position where I should be out of any view as the guards shuffle around, I hope. Now I'm going to go ahead and spend those 4 action tokens. And again, in terms of order of operations, always ensure you're paying 1 token, then taking the action, paying a token, taking the action. If you're paying something that actually costs 1, of course. So in this case, I've gone ahead and done the action well in advance of paying things, which is the opposite way you should be doing it. But I wanted to show you the movement on the board going forward. I will be paying the tokens first as I go through. But that's going to end off my turn. And the next thing we do is check for noise. Now, as you can see on the dashboard, the dash has a noise icon here. So if I had chosen, I wanted to get a little bit faster moving along, I could have chosen a dash, but that would potentially have that die roll happen. We'd roll a single white die for every single one of those icons. If we get this, then we draw attention to ourselves, as I mentioned before. So thankfully, I don't have to deal with any of that. We go right into the enemy turn. So let's go ahead and draw the top card off the guard order deck and find out what it is. We simply resolve the card top to bottom, so the very first slot is an icon of 3 of the dead guard tokens. So essentially these tokens, if we had 3 dead guards on the map, we would go ahead and cash those in essentially in order to take a card off the top of the guard order deck and put it to the bottom of the deck. And that of course is going to escalate the timer inside of the deck, making it quicker for the game to end. We now move on to the second one, which is all about flipping the camera token and checking cameras line of sight. Now you will see cameras as you get further into the campaign, but for this stage there is no camera, so every time we see this icon we're going to skip right past it. That makes life easy, but essentially this is going to have you drawing line of sight from the camera, and of course that can have you draw attention to yourself and fun things can happen. But we now get to the bottom portion of the card. Now, one quick note on line number 2 is the fact that this one is no change to the security cameras. In other words, nothing is flipping token-wise. If you actually see green security camera as well as an orange security camera and rotating arrows between them, that's going to tell you to flip the token over. In this case, this one would have been no change if we had security cameras, but we don't anyway, so it doesn't matter. Just wanted to mention the fact it did say no change, just to make sure I don't confuse anybody that might be using this as a reference with a mission that has security cameras. This would have nothing going on. Now, going down to the third one, it's all about what the given individual that is activated is in. Are they in alert mode or investigate mode or in patrol mode? And that is going to be strewn across all of these. So you can actually see if it's in alert mode, then that guard is going to be moving 5, which is very aggressive towards wherever the alert token is placed. So in my case, there's only 1 alert token that can come out for Snake. If it gets placed out in gameplay, those guards are going to be heading towards that in order to try and interact with it. If they get a chance to interact with it, a guard reaction will occur. Because I've remained stealthy, we don't have to worry about that alert status, so we continue on to the next thing, which is going to be a priority focus around dead guards or individuals that have been KO'd. Neither one of those things are part of the equation right now, so we skip past that as well. We look for any investigate tokens that might be laying around. We currently don't have any of those either, so we now move to patrol. And patrol is the most basic function of a guard. When they don't know what the heck is going on, they're simply following routes. So as you can see on the card, it mentions a 3, letting you know the guards will be moving 3 spaces. And also, if they get to a spot where they can turn left or right, they're going to choose to move left. All right, so again, using the priority guard order up here, we know that this one on the far right-hand side will activate first. It has 3 movement, and it's going to be turning left if there's a choice to go left or right. So in this case, it's going to go forward 1 position because it's going to follow the facing path. So it's going to go up to this position. When it gets to here, it's going to turn the least amount of turns in order to continue its movement. So in other words, it would not turn once and then twice to go back the other way. It would just go ahead and turn once to continue down this way. Now, rotating the guards, no matter how many times they rotate, does not take away from the points of movement that they have. So it had 3, it used 1 to go up, and then it turned, and now it's got 2 more to spend. It will continue moving down. Again, as the enemies start moving around, look at where they're facing. In this case, it is facing towards me, so we could check with a box between the 2 of us to see whether it has line of sight to me, but we know that there's black lines right here, so automatically that would mean no line of sight drawn. If we were to draw a box all the way around, there'd be all kinds of red and black inside. All right, so the next one to activate, going top to bottom, zigzag pattern, is going to be this one right here, and it's moving 3, so it's going to go ahead 1, 2, and 3. That'll end its movement right there. The next one down below here is going to be facing this way. It's going to head 1, 2, and 3. Now, we got lucky here because if the movement of the patrols was 4, I would have been spotted. And that's because the 4th movement would have brought this individual to here, and no guard can actually end its movement facing a wall or any kind of obstacle. It has to turn away and be looking down a clear line of sight, so it would go ahead and rotate the shortest amount of rotation to get in line, and boom, it would see me with just 1 more point of movement. So good thing that didn't happen. We got lucky. Now, before we loop back around and start a brand new hero turn, one thing to mention, I talked about the guard reaction deck potentially triggering if the guard gets to a spot that's of interest. There's actually many things that a guard will react to. Things like an alert token in place on the board will cause the guard to react if it lands on it, or if they happen to find an investigation token. In other words, you've made some noise, maybe you tapped on the wall and placed your investigation token somewhere, and it reaches that token, it will then have a reaction when it gets to that spot, and obviously it's going to have a reaction if it finds a KO'd guard with the KO'd token on the game board or a dead guard. Round number 2 begins, tokens have been refreshed, and you might be thinking, hey, why not just take a giant run dash straight down the middle and go to that A? Because with 4 tokens, you could technically move 8 positions and get right to where you need to go. And that's actually not a bad idea, minus the fact I'd have to roll a white die for every dash. That would be 4 white dice. If I happen to get 1 exclamation mark, that's going to be an alert status triggering, which means all of the enemies are going to stop just generically patrolling and are going to come bombarding down towards me. Here's what's nasty. The guards roll 2 black dice the second they can draw line of sight to me. So once they actually can see me, they will start shooting me like crazy. And if I only have 4 health and my defense is 3 and they're rolling 3 or higher, which has a pretty good odds of landing, I'm probably going to get shot to pieces really quick. So you have to kind of weigh your strategies. Yes, you can be risky. Yes, you can go crazy straight down the middle and hope to make it, but there's going to be some luck involved with that. And then you're going to have to deal with all kinds of pain potentially coming your way, or I could be a little more stealthy and try to maybe take some people out in certain positions so that I can lighten the chances that I actually get an alert status. So long story short, the one I'm not really concerned about is this individual here. This guy's for sure going to come around the corner and see me soon, so I do not want to be in this column anymore. And this individual is going to continue to move down here, most likely. So because of that, I really probably do need to go down the center here. But the question might be, should I kind of go up behind this individual maybe and knock him out? Now, in terms of taking the guards out, you can see I could do a hand-to-hand attack here for 1 action token, which allows me to roll 1 white die, and if I happen to land a 3 or higher, then I can attack an adjacent figure dealing 1 damage. Now, 1 damage is not enough because each guard is 2 health, but I do have sneak attack that says once per round, you can deal damage to the target you are behind in the same row or column, so you get to deal +1 damage to them, which would be enough to take out a guard. Or we could do the combo attack. It costs more actions to pull it off, but we have more chances of success because we're rolling more dice. I'm not sure if this is a good idea, but I'm going to try it anyway. I'm going to go ahead and do a dash, which is going to allow me to move 2 spaces. It will generate noise. Again, we don't roll for the noise check until the turn is over for our player. So I'm going to go ahead and run around the corner here. We're going to do it one more time. We're going to risk it and do another dash here to get ourselves to here. And now you might be wondering, well, now you're kind of exposed. If you start to get up behind this individual and go after him, won't this guard over here see you? Well, what's interesting is that whichever way the guard is facing, it will not see left to right. So when I was talking about drawing line of sight before, the facing is the most important one for when enemies are drawing to your hero. And unless they're facing you, they're not going to see you. So this guard could move right past like this, and it will not see me over here. It is focused on looking forward. For my third action, I'm going to go ahead and sneak to make sure I'm not increasing the noise level any higher. I've got 2 dice off to the side here, ready to roll in the future at the end of my player turn for the noise that I've generated for dash so far. And then the last token here, once I do my move here for the sneak, my last token is going to be for the hand-to-hand attack. Now I'm rolling 1 white die, which is not very much, but based on the sneak attack here, I'm going to be able to deal +1 damage of the same type to them. And I might have misspoke earlier when I was talking with the icon that's for the hand-to-hand attack here, because it's not damage as in damage to kill, it's damage to knock out. So in other words, we're going to be able to hit this individual for 1, hit it for another 1, and be able to knock this individual out. So here's hoping I get a 3 or higher to pull that off. And we did. We got a 5. So the 5 of 1 knockout to this enemy, and then another one is going to KO it. The miniature is removed from the board, and a KO token is placed with the 2 stars facing up. It's going to act like a timer, and it will flip and then be removed when that guard regains consciousness. And again, that's going to come from guard cards telling us to flip it over time. It hopefully won't be noticed by anybody, and the only way it will be is if line of sight can be drawn from it by another guard. Now, it's also worth mentioning that I mentioned earlier that in terms of the hand-to-hand attack and the combo attack, I might have been mentioning damage as in I'm going to kill something. These things are strictly just doing KO type damage, but there will be other ways of actually killing the guards, which of course will come later in the campaign when we start getting things like weapons. Now it's time to find out whether my dash through the corridor there was heard by any of the guards. Let's find out. Nope. That's great news. We now go on to the enemy phase. We're going to draw a guard order card and see what we get. As you saw in the card moments ago, there's a Waken Guard symbol, which means the guard we just knocked out is starting to wake up. The guard is regaining consciousness, but is not fully back yet, but 1 more of these iconography across the top from the guard order deck, and that miniature will be coming back. For now, we're okay. We move on to the second one here. No change for the security cameras. Don't have to worry about that. Going down here, we have no alert token in play at the moment, and we don't have anybody seeing anybody that is dead or KO'd at the moment, so normal patrols continue. The top patrol is going to move to the west 2 positions. And the final guard down at the bottom is going to actually do some things you guys haven't seen yet. So first off, it's going to move 1 this way because it's facing this way. It's going to be up against the wall, so it's going to turn to find another path, and it's going to turn the shortest amount to do so. So it's going to turn like this. Now it still has 1 more movement to go, but when it moves, it's going to land on and end its movement on one of these rotating arrows. Now landing on this space, as well as landing in the space where they were facing the wall, is what's known as finding a new path. So it found a new path when it first moved into here because it can't go any further going that way facing, so it had to turn and go up this way. Now when it ends its movement on a space like this, it's finding a new path as well. And at this point, what it's going to do is turn to another path that's available. Now, on the actual guard card, there is a right or left. In this situation, you would not think about left or right because both don't exist. Only the left turn exists, not the right. If both paths are open, left or right, then you reference this card here and it'll tell you to turn right. So if there actually was a hallway here, then in this case, it would turn like this. But because it is not, it's not going to use that turn at all. And instead, it's going to turn towards the obvious route, which is available to the left. And that's all there is to it. At this point in time, the enemy turn is done. We're going to circle back around, resetting all of our action tokens. So far, so good. Now what I'm going to do is with the 2 guards kind of heading off to the west, I've got time now to circle around and call the elevator. So what I'm going to do is do a dash for 2. I'm going to be risky here. I'd leave the body right there. We're going to move 2 spaces. So we're going to turn around and go 1, 2 and start heading that direction. 1, 2, 3 will get us there. Do I risk doing 1 more dash so I can actually interact with the elevator? I'm kind of tempted to. Let's go ahead and do it. I don't know if this is going to be a good idea. It could be a horrible horrible idea. Or maybe I should just sneak my way to that position and stop there. Actually, you know what? Let's do that. Let's sneak our way there because we don't need to interact. We automatically interact with the A when we get there. So we'll do 3 sneak, and that'll keep things quiet. Now, as it mentions in the campaign booklet, when you land on event A, then the elevator is going to immediately show up. So you don't have to interact with that one, but we do have to do an interact action inside the elevator. It's now time for the noise check. Let's go ahead and roll a die and see whether they heard us as we dash to call the elevator. Oh, they did. So we've drawn attention to ourselves, and when this happens, we place this token with the blue side up and the question mark underneath our figure because it currently doesn't reside on the map. If it already resided on the map when this happened, then we would actually move it from where it is to under our character. So at this point, they've heard the noise. They haven't visually seen me yet, but they've heard something in the corner. And at this point, it is now the enemy's turn, which is not good for us. We're going to go ahead and draw a guard order card and see what we get off the top of the deck. It's this one right here. As you can see in the guard order card, the very first icon, something we haven't seen before, it's called Radio In for active zones. So if the number of guards are less than the guard count, the count is in the middle of the board and it states 3, and as you can see within the zone depicted by stage 1, which is the entirety of this map tile, as well as the elevator, because we literally just called the elevator, there are 3 total guards that are standing right now. Any dead guards or any KO guards do not count towards the guard count total. So what would happen in a scenario, let's say, where the elevator actually came up and there was no guard here? This would be 2 guards up here. This one would not count for the 3rd, and so we'd be spawning a new guard, and it would come in at this icon right here, which actually lines up with the guard order card. And if more than 1 are spawning in, you'll place them nearby as well. Now that's not going to happen in this case because, as I mentioned already, there's already 3 guards in play. So very lucky timing for me indeed. And then the next thing on the card is something I want to show you, which is what I was talking about earlier around the rotating arrows around the security camera token. So once you actually have security cameras, this one will let you know you're going to flip the token and resolve the effects of checking for line of sight. But we're going to really worry about this bottom portion now, as instead of going all the way down to patrol, we're going to be stopping here at the investigation section. Whenever you get to the very bottom of any of the guard order cards, depending on what's going on in play, you're going to be in alert mode, investigate mode, or patrol mode for the guards. We've seen patrol mode every single time, which is them just following where they're facing and essentially just taking a walk around and finding new paths. But now they're in investigate mode because they've heard some noise. Now in investigate mode, the first thing you'll do is look across all the guards and determine which one is the closest to the investigate token, because that guard is the one that's going to do the investigating. So in this case, the individual that came up in the elevator will be doing the investigating, but his turn's not to activate until 2nd because we still need to follow the priority sequence. So we start up here with this one here, and he's going to take a regular patrol action. So in other words, how the investigate mode works is essentially one of the guards is going to go ahead and investigate the token while the rest will continue their patrols. So the individual at the very top is going to be moving based on its arrow heading this way, and it's got a 4 on the guard order card. So because of this, we're going to be going 4 spaces. So 1, 2, and it's going to hit a wall, and it does have the opportunity to turn left or right. And so because of this, for the first time, it's actually going to take a look at the blue arrow to determine which way it's going, and it's left, and it's always their left, the miniature's left, so it will actually be turning this way. And it will now use its final 2 movement to head south, and just so you can see underneath, there is no iconography, so no finding of a new path. So we're good there. We're going to activate the individual in the elevator now, whose focus is the noise that came from underneath my character, who is very close to that elevator. That guard starts to use his forward movement. It takes 2 steps forward, and unlike normal, where it would just continue to move forward down the corridor, if I hadn't have made any noise, it would have walked right past me, and I could have slipped into the elevator. Instead, it's focused on heading towards the noise it heard, so it does turn and directly sees me. We now jump into alert mode, and that means that every single guard behavior going forward is now going to follow the alert mode behavior, which has them solely focused on heading towards that alert token. So that's exactly what's going to happen. But first, because this one turned the corner and saw me, it's going to shoot me right away. It's going to take 2 black dice, and hopefully we do not see it land a 3, 4, or 5, because for every iteration of that on the dice is going to be a damage to me. Let's see how we do. Come on, 1s and 2s. Oh my goodness. What an absolutely insane roll that was. I think in the literal 8 to 10 plays of this scenario that I've done, and it's panned out differently in terms of strategy each and every time, depending on how I've done things, I've never seen it land so low. That's crazy lucky. So we're going to continue on here, but unfortunately, even though he shot at me, we still have one more guard left to activate. And at this point, he's going to abandon the fact he's pointed this way, and he's going to be using the shortest path possible. And of course, that same logic applies even when the investigate token is here, when one of the guards is going after it, whoever's nearest. But in this case, because alert mode is fully on for everybody, this guard is going to ignore where he was originally heading, and he's going to use all of his movement, which has now changed from 4 to 5, and he's going to be heading the shortest path to where he can get to that token. Now, the good news for me is that it's equal distance right now to the token. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So because it's equal, I get to choose which way he goes, and I would absolutely prefer him to stay south so that he doesn't have a line of sight straight into the elevator, which I'm going to be trying to get into. So I'm going to have him curl around this way, and he's going to be using his 4 movements. So he's going to turn, he's going to go 1, turn again, 2, 3, 4. Moving on to the next round, we reset all of our action tokens, and as I mentioned before, the objective is to get into that elevator, interact in the space there that shows the icon, but I can't do this when we're in alert mode. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to deal with the individual in front of me first off, and then I'm going to have to try to play a little bit of chicken with the enemies to get them away from me so that that token can get out of here. Now, unlike the first melee attack I made earlier in the game where I was behind somebody and I could take advantage of sneak attack, this time I'm facing the individual, so I'm not going to get the additional damage to help me there. So instead, I'm going to have to pump up my attack, maybe doing a combo attack here, costing me 2 actions to get more dice. We're going to take a 2 white into the pool and a single black. Let's see how we do. We're looking for 3 or greater on this roll, and we need at least 2 of the dice to go that way. Oh yeah. That was an awesome roll. This guard absolutely knocked out. Now this ends up working out really good because by taking down the guard right in front of the elevator, as sketchy as it is, it allows me to no longer be seen by anybody. So at this point, if I decide to run away, the actual red alert token will not follow me because that is the last known position where anybody saw me. So I'm going to be able to move at this point, and I can actually skirt myself straight into the elevator. And I'm choosing to do a sneak as well as a dash, which allows me to go 2 and then 1. So now I'm right where I need to be, but I don't have enough actions to actually interact with the elevator at this point. But at least I'm not in any line of sight. And I am definitely concerned about this corridor all the way down here. I could have sneaked twice getting to here, but then this individual is going to certainly turn the corner and come down and would see me. And then the red token would move to where I am, and I'd have absolutely no chance of this token going away. What I'm hoping is by sneaking around inside the elevator and staying in there, the guard will eventually get down to this token, this one right here, and it will take that token away, allowing me to interact with the elevator on the next turn, hoping that that works out. Now, saying all that, I still have to make a roll, and it still has to go my way, because at this point in alert mode, if I happen to make any kind of noise that gets picked up on by the enemies, the red token automatically moves to where I'm at because the guards are already in alert mode. So if they hear a noise at this point, they're no longer questioning their sanity. They know exactly where I am, and if it lands inside the elevator, that is going to be a problem for me to try and get away from. So we're going to go ahead right now and make a roll, and I'm going to hope that I do not see that exclamation point. Here we go. Yes, that was extremely stressful, but I think I can pull this off. We'll see how it goes. Guard order card off the top. Let's see what we're getting. And this one here is going to be another reinforcement. Now, at this point, we have 2 guards that are KO'd on the map. And so because of that, we don't have the guard total of 3. So one is going to spawn in, and it's going to spawn in at this location right here, pointing this way or facing that way. So it'll come in like so, but that's okay. The next one is the security cameras. We don't currently have any, and we are still in alert mode. So at this point, the first guard to activate is going to be the one up here, and it's going to be heading directly to the alert token as it's going to be jumping in on what's going on. So 1, 2, it's going to turn 3, 4, and it's moving a total of 5 spaces. So it'll turn one more time and go 1 more, and that's it. Now that guard that is looking straight down the hall into the elevator cannot see me, because when we're drawing line of sight, even though it's facing the correct way, which is the first thing you need to check for line of sight, the second thing is when drawing a box around the two, which would be these spaces right here, there cannot be any wall spaces, which are black walled or red, in the way. And we definitely have that, so I am still safe. Next individual to activate is this one right here. Going to be moving a total of 5 spaces, headed right to the alert token, the shortest route, which is going straight down the middle. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is interesting, the very first time this has happened, and what the guards will do is they're going to leapfrog over each other. So for one movement, it doesn't count as 2, it counts as 1. They're going to jump straight over top, so they move that much faster. Now, I've been really fortunate because if the guards land on any of the tokens, whether they're dead guard tokens, which we currently don't have, any KO tokens, we have 2, or the red token, it's going to trigger a guard reaction. So far, so good as they head towards the red token. Now, this one down here has 5 to move, so it's going to be heading down the shortest route, which will keep it going down this way, which is great. So 1, 2, 3, it's going to turn, and this is going to be 4, and the final movement will land right on here. So we do actually get a guard reaction, but we want this because I want to clear that token. Well, it's time to find out what this guard reaction is going to do to us. We're going to go ahead and flip it over, and it states, based on it being this one here, it says, where do they go? Remove the red token, then spawn 1 guard on the reinforcement position in the zone. That guard does not activate this turn. That is perfect for us, and this is what I was hoping to see. That was extremely fun because we literally just slid into the elevator. As you can see, even drawing line of sight from the individual that is now here or here, if we were drawing it for the one that's south, you can see when scanning across the two here, we've got walls in between which are blocking the view of that individual. This was an absolutely epic end to stage number 1. As we go into a brand new round, we have all of our action tokens left. We are in the clear in the elevator. We've already interacted with A to bring the elevator to us, and now we're interacting with the elevator to get out of here. So we'll go ahead and spend 1 action to interact. Now, it is worth mentioning you'll run into interact actions later in the campaign that will actually have you rolling dice to interact, but in this case, for stage number 1, there's no dice rolling whatsoever. It's just simply pressing the elevator button. To the sound of footsteps, Solid Snake presses the button on the elevator and disappears down the shaft. And we got out unscathed, no damage taken whatsoever. We were able to even KO a couple individuals and had quite a few guards coming at us. That was a ton of fun to go through with you guys. Really hope this gave you a great idea as to how this game flows and operates. You got to see a snippet of the mechanics and how things flow. Just know full well that as you get deeper into the campaign, things get even more impressive in terms of the strategy necessary to get out. And of course, we don't have any equipment to use right now, so we're using very basic tactics at this point, and there'll be a lot more to dig into as you get further inside the game. The other thing to mention is that the card I pulled for the guard reaction could have panned out differently. There are another 6 cards like it that have differences in terms of that red tokens. You can see here other things that might have occurred based on me pulling those other cards could have changed how things actually panned out. Now again, it's always going to have the guards following that priority order in terms of what they're focused on. So for instance, when you go to the guard order card here, it always reminds you as to what their priorities are across the bottom. So the red token's already always priority number 1, and then it kind of moves across from there. And that, my friends, will wrap up the solo playthrough for Metal Gear Solid the board game Stage 1. Looking forward to your comments down below. Hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you guys again, and as always, keep on rolling solo.